Kakangu Riziki. Jambo.
Jambo wambaje.
Nakuona.
Uko vyema.
Nashukuru sana. Najua Kiswahili kigumu kidogo. Nasikia wanasema karibu sisi tumetuala.
Cha kupiga chenga.
Good to see you, my brother.
Good to see you, bro.
How are you doing? Fine.
Congratulations for setting up this, and you began as a joke probably from Radio Jambo. You are a resident analyst for some time, and you liked your views, you liked your past, then now we are here, so congratulations.
I really appreciate it. You're just trying to build up something.
Most of a young person, it's a great honor. Yes.
Nashukuru sana bana, kumbe umenifuata tangu Radio Jambo kule.
Yes.
I still have programs at Radio Jambo though.
Okay. I hope it's not against the policy of trial media.
Hii ni Nairobi bwana. Nairobi ni shamba la mawe.
Unachenga huku na huku, lazima
ukubali kucheka, lazima upange kazi. Ninashukuru kukuona.
Pleasure, bro.
All right, I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the viewers. The Tacklers, this is your first time on the tackle.
Yes. This is my first time. By name, I'm DUSTAN RIZIKI. I'm a lawyer by profession. And I'm a businessman at the moment. I also try to engage in issues of governance and policy at consultancy level. At the moment, why I'm here is because of young people came together to really champion or chaperone a particular idea. And the idea is formation of a national party by the name National Reconstruction. I heard you saying restoration.
It's reconstruction.
I think restoration is
one and the same.
Is one the same, but reconstruction really means something different in essence. Probably that is the basic introduction as per this discourse. I probably want to really focus on why young people ought to come together. Young people ought to come together because they've been told they're leaders of tomorrow, but their tomorrow seems to be a mirage.
Someone sang, tomorrow never comes.
Tomorrow never comes. And what really what motivates us is basically, why can't we be the leaders of today? And if we are the leaders of today, we are trying to change the narrative. Can we focus on issues and not focus on the political rhetoric and all that? Can we focus on policy? Can we focus on agenda? And probably that should be the discourse that really guides our thinking, guides our agenda as a political organization. It's a basic introduction. Probably as we move on, we'll be able to delve into the nitty-gritties and be able to digest what formation of a political party is all about. As a political party, we pride ourselves in having 41 offices across the country.
Interesting.
From basically Lamu to Turkana, Nyeri, to Namanga. We look at it as an achievement in a way, because we want to reach the grassroots, and the people who really build the party are basically the people on the grassroots. We want to focus that our party shall not be what we call a briefcase party in the leafy suburbs of Nairobi or whatever place, but they shall have the party shall have structures, and decision making shall be made at the party level, also at the grassroots level. That is our thinking. And the thinking is that probably the agenda of the party shall be determined by the needs of the people at the grassroots level. As a country, we are going through tough moments in terms of, our economy has shrunk, it's not growing, there are no jobs, poverty is something we cannot really talk about. We think as a party we have to really focus on that. Focus on poverty, focus on employment, and as a party probably mainstreaming the issues of youth, women, and people with disability. We want to believe that these are people that already encompass over 80% of our population. And at the same time, we appreciate the role and the purpose of our seniors. But I believe that as we champion the involvement of those three people in terms of the mainstreaming of their agendas, I believe we will be in better place if we have an employment for our people, if we have just creating industries, mainstreaming agriculture, creating the service industry, making it work, creating jobs for our people. I think if we can achieve that, then we'll be in a position to really wake up and say that probably we are doing well as a country, and as a party we'll be alive to the purpose of what we really intend to. So reconstruction is basically founded on the ideals that there's something that our forefathers had. There's a dream that our forefathers had. If you sing the national anthem, you will see it. And if you can remember, Gerald, about the French Revolution, the American Revolution, all that, at all times you will see that the French Revolution talked about égalité, fraternité, liberté, equity, justice, and liberty. Because actually, if a study of the French Revolution is really the foundation of the political liberation in Africa, because we are thinking about how can we liberate ourselves from political oppression, the imperialism, and all that. But we know we have been singing about this most as a country. Deep down, every election cycle, we are talking about political liberation. But as a party, we are thinking that probably we should forget about political liberation and think about economic emancipation. Therefore, our policies, our agenda is about how best can we emancipate the majority of us from, the slavery that we've been put in by either by political, oligarchs and all that, or by the policies that really do not really advocate for things that affect the majority of us. I think, Gerald, that's...
Right. So how old is National Reconstruction Party? Just before I say restoration again.
I think restoration, probably you're a good reader of the Bible. And I know that's very also good. National Reconstruction Alliance is basically 2 weeks old.
2 weeks old.
2 weeks old in terms of receiving a certificate, if that is the modus operandi of really looking at how old it is. But the process of registering a party in this country has now been very tight. Probably you might remember, or might not have the privilege of remembering, that since 2017 they have only registered 5 parties, because there are stringent mechanisms and procedures of registering a party. The Amendment to Political Parties Act has made it very difficult, or made it very stringent, that only serious people can register one. I'll give you an example. The service part, I'll name, for example, the last 5 years, which parties have been registered and probably who are the people behind those parties. We have Civic Renewal Party by Mwangi Wairia, the governor of Muranga. We have TSP by the governor of the former CSS Agriculture, Mwangi Kiunjuri. We have UGM, United Green Movement by Agostino Neto. We have
Agostino Neto is still around.
He's still around. He's still around. We have Nopeu, National Ordinary Empowerment Movement
by
Mpuri Aburi. If you look at the caliber of those people, we are nowhere. Some of us probably, majority of us are new, but what you're bringing on the table is not our names. What you're bringing on the table, Gerald, is the idea and the content that we want to contribute to our national discourse.
But the question is, Riziki,
yes.
Was like you've said, there are thousands and thousands of parties in Kenya, and I was even seeing on yesterday's headlines the rush for new parties. What's different? Why is it that in Kenya we're so obsessed about parties?
I don't think people are obsessed.
What's the difference? What's the difference with restoration?
I don't.
Or reconstruction. Reconstruction.
Reconstruction.
I need to write it somewhere. Reconstruction.
I think what motivates joining a party or founding a party should be the philosophy, the agenda, and the ideology. If you don't feel that you fit in either of those categories in whichever party that you think you really ascribe to, then you have the liberty and the political right, for that matter, to go and found another party for that, for those reasons. And when you found those parties, let's not just do the same thing that probably our forefathers have done. Why can't you create a different perspective towards politics? We have been believing in politics of personalities. That's why you'll see people every other day shifting with the personalities. Yeah. We are not interested in personalities. You'll see somebody waking up in the morning, and when I mention the parties I've been mentioning about personalities. If you're very careful, Gerald. Yeah. But our motivation is not about personalities. Our motivation is about ideas. So we want to believe and hope that probably our ideas are what motivates us, is the reasons why we're motivated to form a National Reconstruction Alliance, NRA.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So you feel now that we have a different party in the name of NRA, we're going to see a different kind of politics in this country. Who are your members, and what do you want to achieve at the end of the day? What's that different test that you want to bring into Kenyan politics as NRA?
We want to. Our politics has been intoxicated for so long. We want to believe that NRA as a fresh kid on the block will be able to really mainstream two things. Mainstream the active involvement of youths, women, and people with disability in politics. When I talk about mainstreaming, Gerald, I look at it from this different perspective. We want to give youths a chance, not to suffocate them. We want to give women a chance, not to suffocate them. Something else, we also want to think about, constructively, how best can we involve youths have ideas, but in other parties, the place and the role of the youths is really at the youth league.
It's negligent. Mm-hmm.
Is at the youth league. Okay. Majority of them have been reduced to basically bloggers, people who the other people will only look at them as noisemakers. But we want to give these young people a chance to share their ideas, share their way of thinking, share their innovations in terms of our political growth, and be able to contribute positively in our political trajectory as a country. The other area is, the issues of finance has been a major, blow in our political, the monetization of our politics. The politics has been monetized to an extent that to be given a chance to contest, then you have to buy, loyalty to individuals. And that's why as a party, we are killing the personalities, but creating a movement of young people, movement of Kenyans, old and and young. But our motivation is at the end of the day, give this young person a chance, give this old person a chance. If he can mainstream the idea and the agenda of the youth, then give them a chance. Let them be on the table. Let their ideas rule rather than personalities. The issues of money, we are thinking widely. Why is it that we don't have, our politics has been monopolized to that extent? Probably it is time to change the narrative, bring the ideas on the table. Let us debate on ideas. Let us share ideas as a people. Probably think differently. Look at the issues. If you remind a young person probably today that he's poor because of policies, then probably he'll be able to understand why he needs to actively participate in policy formulation of this country. If you remind a young person that is suffering because of unemployment, because his vote has been bought and he has not been given a chance to actively participate in governance and politics, it will be incumbent upon him to really actively now take a leading role to ensure that he actively participates in politics. Therefore, as a party, we look at economic emancipation as the foundation. Gerald, in the last election in Sweden, which I happened to really observe, was that the issues at the time of campaign, it's worrying more so in Kenya when you see a campaign rally on a Monday and the stadium is full, thousands of people. It only reflects one thing: the degree and the levels of unemployment, the degree and the levels of poverty. We want a situation whereby people can be able to come to such a forum, share ideas, and share debate on issues, and tell them this is our agenda as a party, and let the people decide, rather than having a conglomeration of people on a Monday, on a working day, on a Tuesday somebody else is having another rally, on a Wednesday somebody is having another rally, and all these rallies are full. We should question our consciousness and really ask ourselves what really ails us as a country. Is it time probably we retrospectively look at what really ails us? And Gerald, if you remember, our national anthem says, "Plenty shall be found within our borders."
Within our borders, yes.
Probably it's time to ask, 58 years after independence, is plenty found within our borders? Is it plenty found within our borders, or is plenty found for some individuals? That is the conversation we should look at. And rather than focusing on so much on political, liberation, you're talking about liberation, we have a constitution that has already probably offers us the legal and constitutional infrastructure to liberate our country. But right now, as a people, we think probably we should focus much on economic emancipation through right thinking, through right agenda, through setting the right trajectory in terms of agenda, more so in our political space, and ask the tough questions, ask our leaders, respectively and with our utmost decorum. What are you planning to do for us to create jobs? What are you planning to do for us? What are you planning to do for our industries? That is the kind of conversation we want. We shall, at the right time, Gerald, as a party, we're coming up with a manifesto, and we are coming up with a manifesto to share with our leaders, to share with the Kenyan public, so that these leaders, if you want to be part of us, you should first of all ascribe to our manifesto to be able to really, you don't come with your manifesto to us, because we are not in the business of following you without our plan. Therefore, we must first of all plan ourselves and ensure that we have an adequate, a succinct manifesto that is concrete with our agenda, which we are doing at the moment, and this manifesto shall be a guide, shall be a Bible in terms of engagement. Something else, Gerald, something that I probably have noted in our political scene. We are thinking that, why do people choose wrong leaders? And one of the reasons that we found out is lack of education. And when I talk about lack of education, I mean civic education for that matter. You can't be educated for that matter, but you don't understand what is leadership all about, most of political leadership. You ask somebody what is the role of an MCA, most of us have no clear clue. Just probably if you ask most of us, most of young people within Nairobi, or people within Nairobi, who is your local MCA at the county level? Majority of us have no clue. Reason being, we have not been able to understand the role of these leaders. So as NRA, we are thinking that probably one of the things that we shall really advocate for, and we are going to create, is National Reconstruction Alliance Leadership Training Institute. As a party, we shall do it probably start at the small level, in a way to really engage the public, not necessarily the members of NRA, but engage the entire public, educate them on the issues on who is a leader. That is one. And for those people who are probably thinking about vying in the party, they will be required to have a certificate to be trained on leadership. That is a priority that we shall really emphasize on, because we are not in a rush just to be popularized, but we want to create structures that today an MCA, an MP will understand his role and his mandate as such. And members of the public, for example, they'll be able to really tell that this is a good leader and this is a bad leader. I think that leadership conversation is where we also have a mismatch, that even the electorates do not understand the roles of leaders. The leaders themselves don't understand their roles. So as a party, against other principles, we want to approach politics from a different perspective. Approach it from the point of training, first of all, apart from point of civic education amongst the voters and the populace. Thereafter, translate that into that voting exercise.
All right, that's good. There's something you mentioned about young people and the fact that the only time they appear on the table is maybe on the menu. And the question, this is not the first party that is being registered by young people. A lot of young people have registered parties, but somehow they usually end up at the end of the day being properties of, or actually disappearing into the mainstream parties, or disappearing into the older politicians, armpits and all that. How can we ensure that young people can sustain a revolution? Because the changes in any country have been driven by young people. But in Kenya is on the reverse, because young people start parties. Look at Third Way Alliance, for instance. Third Way Alliance had come up as a serious ideal party in terms of it drove the voice of the people at that time. And it captured a lot of inspiration from young people who wanted to see a different kind of politics, a third way in politics, because you have the first and the second way.
Yes.
Most of the time is either you're in government or you're in opposition. And then again now it came another angle of a third way, a Third Way Alliance and all that. But again, when you look at it, the same people who started the company have been used by the big politicians to actually disenfranchise the party. How do we ensure that young people actually are able to sustain the movement of ideas, like this, what we want to pursue, and they stick to it, and fail to play the music or the pipers, or the old politics?
First of all,
what plans do you have to actually go beyond that mortality?
I'll come to that. Probably as a person, I have been actively involved in politics, and I have a clear understanding of the agendas of most of the political parties. As a party, we are trying to think the best way, because the major issues in terms of running a political party is money. And we don't want a situation whereby we are beholden by other individuals who, because probably they come and give you some money, then you have to sing to their tunes. So to tackle the issues of loyalty and in terms of agenda, we are cracking our heads. How do we raise money to sustain a political party? That is one. How do we mainstream the agenda of the youth? That is two. Secondly, the issues of party loyalty in terms of the founders. The founders carry the dream of a political party. Anytime the founders shall be, in terms of they can be easily bought out, then that is the beginning of failure. Therefore, as a party, we believe that instead of begging for funds from politicians, which is an expectation from most politicians, we want to engage politicians as partners in terms of the agenda. Therefore, I think in terms of how we intend to run the party in terms of financing, in terms of agenda, we will be in a position and in a good position to run it, because we have done it before. We've done it before, probably under other people's armpits, but right now we are doing it on our own. We have the necessary experience, we have the necessary expertise, also in terms of finance raising. We have necessary experience in terms of agenda setting. We are not going to really be worried, don't be worried about how we shall raise finances, how we shall do that. We have the necessary expertise. We equally also have the necessary connections. We have just not woken up from the blues. It has taken time. Up to this moment, you have spent a good amount of money. So I think where we're heading to as a party is a clear plan. We have a strategic plan, and we're looking at a strategic plan of the next 10 years. Probably I will be 39 years then. We're looking at a strategic plan of the next 50 years. I'll be probably 79 years. I'll be like Raila probably, or thereabout. So in terms of thinking, we're not thinking short term. And we're not thinking about short-term gains also, because we have been approached equally by a number of presidential candidates, or they want to be presidential candidates. Their idea is to buy you. But they are not.
Did you just say wanna be?
They're not, the issues, I don't think we're motivated by money. The aspect of money in terms of our politics should be removed. And let our leaders also not look at young people, that the point of engagement is only about money. Come and engage us in our ideas, engage us in our plans, engage us because NRA, I want to believe it will be there we live in the next generation. It is not our party per se for this generation. When I talk about us, I don't mean this, I mean this generation. It is a party we believe we shall be able. And today we have more than 70 other parties. But I want to really assure you that NRA shall be there to stay. You will see it. You will see it. Many programs will come in terms of engagements, in terms of people-oriented programs. We're asking ourselves, what limits us? What has changed? That Tom Mboya at 29 years could send an airlift to UK, to the US and the UK, and Russia and all that. How come it's not happening now? Have those universities refused to admit airlift students? So we want to think in those dimensions. What really ails us is probably the greed that has been, engulfed our political space. If we're able to tackle the greed, if we're able to tackle our vision, then I can assure you the dream of Tom Mboya still lives on. So it's a journey.
There's a conversation that have always been given, and there's something you mentioned about connections, and most of the time when someone talks about connections, you imagine the guys again who are outside, the old folks, the same old folks in the game.
No.
Now there's an issue that have been mentioned about young people.
Yes.
And the fact that young people find it so difficult to work together, and you find that whenever something is started off by young people who have to come together, there's always a place where conflict comes in. Young people are seen to most of the time follow interest more than ideology, and it's widespread, and people have mentioned that. what do you feel is a challenge about young people coming together to push something? Because they always say, kujani kaeni pamoja so you can push it. But then again, you disintegrate and find that we're still getting sucked back into the old ways of doing things and chasing personal interest. What has been, have you experienced as a challenge in your party?
I think the issue of greed and short-term gains are what really divides the youth. What you see affecting the youth, or most youth-led organization, is most of the founders think in terms of short-term gains. They will think of, they'll see Gerald driving a V8. He'll also want to buy a V8, right? He does not know probably which other thing you're doing in life, that probably you're not, you are buying a V8. So I think what motivates us and what glues us together is that we agreed as a matter of principle that greed shall not be a founder, shall not be a cornerstone. It is one. We also agreed that politics shall not be our business. Politics shall not be our business. And majority of us at the party level, we've agreed that we must go out, work hard in all sectors, work hard in school, those who are in school, because some of our members are in school. We've also agreed that as a matter of principle that those in business should do their best, so that we don't look at party as a business. Party is about service. So if the guiding principle in terms of the founders and the members of the party, that this party is about service to the people, then the issue of greed and disintegration shall not arise. Because what we're engaged in, what we're interested in is, Gerald, as a party, we want to drill boreholes in Turkana. We have analyzed the political space. All parties are basically political vehicles. Our political parties actually empower us to do many things. Empowers us to really educate people in terms of civic education, empowers us to do. But all the parties just arise during electioneering time. They disappear from the scene. Even those with funding disappear from the scene, but just emerge from somewhere during election time. But we want to come up with concrete structures and concrete plans in terms of, for example, the child a lady in Turkana should be able to fill NRA, whether there is politics or no politics. She'll be able to have a borehole that has NRA, a borehole dug by NRA. She'll be able to a community engagement program. For example, the street rehabilitation program. Can't we engage the young people? When this young person grows up knowing that NRA helped him, for example, secure education at the street level, this person shall be extremely loyal to that party. I'll give another example. The issues that affect probably, I'll talk probably in terms of coast region, the issues of drug addiction. Why can't we, as a party, or any other party, why can't we engage in terms of giving a solution rather than waiting for the government to give a solution? And political parties, to me, basically should be, a government in waiting. That is our view or our perception about political parties. So, as a government in waiting, we must crack our heads, ensure that we have adequate means to get financing for some of the projects. But the major role of a political party as an institution is to engage the community and the people at the grassroots, give them solutions. The parties that engage people at election time are basically political vehicles. I want to believe, and our hope and prayer is that NRA shall not be a political vehicle. We are actually not so much interested in 2022. We are not so much interested in winning seats just for the sake of euphoria, but we are interested in creating an institution that shall provide good leadership, whether we're in power or not in power. We should be able to really help a sick guy in Masai to get medical attention. We should be able to get a number of students go to study in Norway. We should be able to get a number of students go to study in the US. We should be able to get a number of students go to get experience. We should be able to take a number of actually technical persons to go to Ethiopia, just our neighbor here. Ethiopia are learning how to, their leather industry has really grown to an extent that they're now producing good quality shoes. Why can't we as a party say that we want, as a party, before we even get into power, for that matter, that take a number of these Kenyan students who are probably party members to go and study how probably shoes are being done in Ethiopia. We want to also, a number of students go to Israel, a number of party members to go to Israel and study about agriculture as a party. These are the things that really motivates us. It's not about power, because because power is temporary. But if you really out to serve the community, there are various issues you can really pursue that you will be able to serve the community in truth and in good faith.
Wow. The things that you mentioned, one of them is that you talked about that your party is not about personalities, and I think that's quite impressive. And you said that it's not about positions and all that, it's about the ideology. And something else that you mentioned is that the challenge with working with young people, especially in politics, is that most young people look at politics as a source of bread. Like, acha tufungue chama ndio tuanze kukula, ama tufungue ndio tuanze kufanya hivi na hivi. I'll start with the first thing. So how do you structure your leadership within the party? If who holds the positions or whatever? You don't have positions?
No.
Or what do you mean when you say it's not about personalities?
I'll explain that. And I try to. One thing is, you see, we have the Political Parties Act gives structures of a political party. As a people, we want to believe those people in those positions. We have the chair, we have the vice chair, we have the secretary general, we have the treasurer, we have all these people. But we want to believe what really kills other parties is that these people tend to wake up in the morning and become demagogues just because you are the chair of a political party. You want to walk around telling everybody, I'm the chair of the political party. You cannot.
The party leader.
You are party leader. In fact, one of the things we don't advocate for is that position of a party leader, because we have experienced that these party leaders are the ones who are really suffocating the place of other people in the party. As a party, we have a chairman. Our chairman is called Frederick Kadzo Mnuku. He's currently in the US doing his master's. We have the SG. The SG is called Paula Member, who is a member of Yambo, who is a student, by the way, doing a 5th year engineering student. And those are the things that really motivates us. Not don't wake up in the morning saying, you are a party leader so that, people start fearing you or treating you as a demigod. So these people, they're just vision bearers, me included. We're just vision bearers. We're not really that. You want to create a movement, a movement of young, like-minded individuals who are able to really advocate for particular kind of agendas. That is our motivation. And in terms of structures, our structures are guided by the Political Parties Act, and this trickle down to the counties. In the 41, actually, we are present in 46 counties.
46 counties,
yes.
Out of 47.
Out of 47. In those counties, we already have structures. And some of the structures, actually, in most of the counties, we are actually up to the ward level. And that's what really motivates us. And in the near future, you'll see a number of things rolling out. We are rolling out, we are launching our website in the next 2 weeks. We're also launching an app, more so for the young people, to be able to really interact well through the social media. We'll have a number of programs that we think that there'll be a number of trainings, more so for the party members. We're also launching. We'll have an official launch in April of the party in terms of what's really the agenda and what it really stands for. We're also having a number of guests. We're having Malema come in.
Oh, amazing.
We have a number of guests.
John Malema from South Africa.
From South Africa. We are thinking of bringing young leaders across the globe to be able to, just motivate young people that you can do it. You don't need to really, you don't need to be worried about what tomorrow holds. You can wake up and come on board. We are looking up to Bobby Wine. Why not? Bobby Wine is challenging an oligarch. Probably that is the same thinking we should really employ. In terms of ideas, we don't want to go to challenge you in terms of bullets. No. We want to challenge you in such a forum. Share with us your vision about economy. Share with us your vision about agriculture. Make agriculture, good for young people. Make it affordable. Create industries. These young people need to be able to be absorbed in industries. Don't give us money. Don't give us money per se, but create an enabling environment that today you can be able to do your maize in Trans Nzoia and have a factory in Trans Nzoia, not bringing maize all the way from Trans Nzoia to come and process it in Thika. You get? Yet the people in Trans Nzoia themselves have no job. Why have fish fillet all the way from Kisumu bringing it to thicker, to
come and
crush,
process it.
process it. Why can't you be able to process the same in Kisumu to create more jobs, export the final product, so that you create a way to create jobs for our people. What motivates that is economic emancipation. That is what is key. The issues of land. You think people are not able to afford it. What can we do as a people? Just create an enabling environment for people to make money, they'll be able to buy land. In terms of planning, we want to engage the government in terms of those kind of agendas, Gerald. Yeah.
And so why do you think young people look at politics as a job? And that's what we see a lot of it wanaenda kutumia kwa heckling, wameweka kwa basi, wanapelekwa mahali fulani, wamepigwa na siasa fulani.
Unemployment.
Why do young people look at politics as a source of income? Even when you look, there's someone who was telling me the biggest challenge in young parties, or parties that are run by young people, is that every time a young person sees a political vehicle, they look at it as a source of income. Like tukae kwa hii chama so that we make money from it. And I quite like the fact that you've separated what you do for a living, what puts bread on your table, and what you do is politics. Why do you think young people wanaonanga kama siasa ni mahali pa kwenda kula pesa?
The first thing is the agenda. The second thing is, when you wake up in the morning, what do you really want to achieve when you're doing anything? Most of the young people are looking at politics as a way to make quick money. And what separates NRA from that is that we want young people to get jobs. So that, don't look at politics as a job. Politics cannot be a job. Politics is a by the way. You do it at your free time, engage in it at your free time, and be able to make your meaningful contribution in that. So I think the first thing is that, assuming we give young people got jobs in this country, I can assure you the interest in terms of politics will really subside. So majorly, we are looking at politics as a tool for social transformation, not as a tool for enrichment. Once you're able to separate the two, that politics is not for enrichment, but a tool of social transformation, then you'll be able to really do well. Secondly, we also want to encourage young people who really aspire to join politics to really put a great focus on their career, so that, assuming politics does not work, you should have a fallback plan. That is one. Two, and one of the things we shall be doing under the NRA Leadership Training Institute is to train people in entrepreneurship. Make them think, and make them think that you can do something else, but politics, engage in it to transform the society, because this is the community you live in. But you must be able to engage in gainful, employment, if that is one. You must be able to engage in business to be able to sustain your life, because politics is for a season. It's for a season in terms of, if you're thinking from a political perspective. But your life will be there, with or without politics. Assuming you woke up today and got an accident and you're a politician, then you're bedridden for a while. What will happen? You need your career. You need to empower yourself. In terms of planning, you've seen people join politics, and politics is a very bad game. Politics can make you poor than, other people think it can make you rich. But to others, to majority of the people in this country, it has made them poorer, right? So we want to approach it from a knowledge base, that the people engaged in politics should be and must be able to really be able to look at it as a tool of social transformation and not as a tool of enrichment. If you want to enrich yourself, why don't you engage in business? Why can't you, for example, do your tenders? Why can't you start factories? Why can't you go to Europe, buy some things that we need as a country, come and sell them here? I think that is where probably you go wrong. If you want to do politics, look at it as a tool of societal change and social transformation, Gerald.
Okay. All right. That's incredible. And I'll be looking forward to see what NRA is going to do differently. We look forward to working with you as well to try and drive a conversation from that point of view so we can have a better nation. Now, what do you think is the state of politics in this country?
The state of politics is that we have what the French Revolution had. We have a social antagonism between the so-called the poor versus the rich. And what happened in the French Revolution, I'm seeing it happen because Louis the 16th came out as a weak leader because he was not able to tackle the issues of economic hardships of the people of the French. What is happening right now in terms of the state of our politics is that we are having a reincarnation of those issues that affected the French Revolution. The issues of economic hardship, the issues of the tax system, the issues of unemployment, the issues of just mismanagement of national resource or government resources. That is the state of our politics. And to salvage this country from that quagmire, we need to think in two dimensions. What really is causing the divide between the rich and the poor? Then it was the monarchy and the nobilities in the French Revolution. What caused that? And as a country, how can we wake up and how can we rise above that? The only way to rise above that is to create economic emancipation and equality in terms of access to opportunities, in terms of access to resources, in terms of access to the basic needs. We are talking, for example, I'll give an example of the Equalization Fund. In the last 1 year, that fund has not even worked. How do you expect a young man from Turkana who was really expecting to have water from the Equalization Fund to feel about it? Mm-hmm. How will you expect a young man from Masai, from Kajiado and Tulele, who was not able to access water, who is depending on the Equalization Fund to really work? And the thing is, let us create, as a country, let us grow our economy. I'll give you another example, Gerald. As a country, we have a budget estimate of 3 trillion. We have a tax projection of 1.6 trillion. Majority of our debts have matured, and we are supposed to start paying those debts from this year. Close to 900 billion shillings of our 1.6 trillion budget is going to pay debts. Are we safe as a country that we are surviving on less than 1 trillion shillings in terms of our revenue earning? For example, I'll give you another thought. The budget of TSC is 490 billion. The budget of Kenya is 200 billion shillings. Where are we getting this money? Yet, you have exhausted our monies in terms of, our revenue projections. The answer is we are borrowing. And when we are borrowing today, me and you in a population of 48 million people, we are going to suffer. The fact of the matter is any average Kenyan in this country owes close to 300,000 Kenyan shillings to the foreign, the commercial loans. The issue is the people in leadership do not really prioritize us. And that's where we come in as an NRA. We're asking ourselves, why borrow at 70 years? Does it mean you don't care about us? It means probably you are ready to go, assuming the forces of nature act one way or another. Then when you go, whom are you leaving the debt to? Your family is okay, but we, majority poor and young people and women and people with disability, have no option. By the time you leave, we are owing the whole world a big portion of money. I'll give you another thing. We are also, dismayed that we already have a debt ceiling of 8 trillion. Mm-hmm. But the National Assembly, I think this week, has received a bill to be able to increase the debt ceiling to 12 trillion. I think that should worry you, Gerald, because we are borrowing to pay for the recurrent expenditure. We are borrowing to pay teachers. We are borrowing to pay the army. I think that is what should really be our discourse. And I want to ask members of parliament to reject that bill, because that bill does not mean well even for themselves. And anytime you increase a debt ceiling with more than 4 trillion, it means we'll not be able to pay, first of all, unless we get some debt suspension. And I think the level of corruption in this country is also worrying, Gerald. Worrying in the sense that those in leadership use the borrowing avenue, the borrowing model of corruption, So today they'll tell you you have increased the debt ceiling. They go and borrow, but as they borrow, they put their cuts in the borrowing. So we get yourself, we will have best infrastructure, but no money. Any money, the taxation regimes will increase, the economy will shrink, and that is worrying me as a young man, probably just starting my family. It's worrying me that what will happen thereafter. So let us look at key issues. Let us look at agriculture from a point of reason. Let us ask ourselves, why does countries that probably are poorer, Botswana today, an ASAL country, is able to produce maize and selling it to Lesotho, is able to export beef? That should be a question. What are they doing different? I can also tell you, Gerald, that they used the policies from Kenya as their foundation of restructuring under Ian Hammer to restructure the agriculture policy. We have the best policies, but what we lack is the political goodwill. Another thing is, I'll give you an example. What makes it difficult? Why is the cost of production, more so in the agricultural sector, very high? That today a bag of maize being sold at NCPB in Eldoret or Kitale is 3,300. A same bag of maize from Malawi through Uganda to Kenya is 2,500 shillings. What is Malawi, a poor country, doing that we're not doing? And that should be our conversation as a country. Forget about this, this magic. Forget about this, whatever the drama. The melodrama is not necessary anymore. With a population that is educated, let us think of change in terms of skills. The people we are taking to TVET, where are they going to after the TVET education? Why can't we take them to learn skills in other places? Why can't we be able to, empower our special economic zones? We already have the Dongokundu bypass. We have all the way to Voi, to Taita Taveta. Why can't we make that a very strong economic zone? You have Busia, for example, the border counties. Why can't we have dry ports in border counties in Busia, Namanga, all the way to Elwak, all the way to Lodwar? Why can't we have dry ports in those areas? In the sense that the assembling of, for example, machineries that are basically used for export in those countries, why can't we be able to assemble them in those dry ports? Come up with economic zones that will create jobs. China now is growing differently. China is growing in the sense that they're now bringing their companies to Africa because of the cost of production. It's becoming cheaper to do it in Africa. But what we are lacking is goodwill, political goodwill, and the skills. We should, as a country, invest so much in terms of a foreign direct investment by encouraging those people, the investors, to come and invest around, to invest in the country, to invest in those special economic zones, to have an example of Konza, which is coming up very well. We must give the government credit for that. But let us have a number of Konza cities across the country. Let us create a Silicon Valley. Let us create an industrial, a Beijing kind of estate, a particular place. Vietnam went through the same. So we're not different. We can do it. What we just lack is the political leadership and goodwill. And that's what basically ails this country. We just need a leadership that, first of all, appreciates what ails us and appreciates that we don't need political liberation anymore. We are a multi-party state. What we need is basically an economic emancipation narrative. And if you can be able to push that narrative further, if you can be able to come with concrete ideas, then we'll be able to let us get examples. Let us empower the smallholder farmer at the grassroots level. Let us empower the small fisherman that he gets value for his money. Remove the middlemen from the business. Why can't the government take up the marketing of the agri-produces so that you'll be able to make good money? The farmers are able to make good money from their work.
All right. There's something you mentioned. You said that Kenya has an abundance of policies and laws. You're saying this at a point where you're saying what is lacking actually is political goodwill. You're making this statement at a point where the country is belaboring, a situation where we are sitting and some people are telling us that the only solution that this country needs is the change of laws so that it can move from third world to first world. You're talking about considerable changes. You're talking about changing laws again to progress the country by the same people, the same politicians, the same class of people who are operating right now when you have the same issues. What's your feeling? especially as a young person? We are telling young people that we need a constitutional change to pay your help, to make manufacturing easy. I mean, what's your general feeling as a young person?
I think that's whatever is happening is a political discourse that has no relationship with the wishes and of the majority of the people in this country. I can also assure you that why don't you need to pay help? You need to pay help because when you pay help, you'll help people. The only thing that you need to do to be able to pay help, for example, you just need a job. Most of Kenyans are willing to pay the help loan, but the issue is that they have no job. Why do you need a tax holiday? To jumpstart your life as an entrepreneur. You don't need a tax holiday as a young person. You need opportunities. If you're able to trade and do your business, you don't need a tax holiday for that matter. Secondly, why do we legislate everything? Why do we allow that kind of legislation to everything and legislate everything? That really hurts the growth of our country. And as young people, I think whatever is important is the ability to make money from the economy and the ability to think as a global citizen. Don't look at Nandi or Uasin Gishu or whichever place, Kericho, as probably the only place you can make your life. Look at life from a different perspective. Where else can you go as a young person? Can we be able to have trade tasks? I'll give an example. Trade tasks in Taiwan, and a Samsung phone is made in Taiwan. Parts of the same phone are made in Thailand. So be able to develop the skills from different places and be able to really anchor yourself around those areas. So we have to stop thinking about Kenya as a landlocked place. You have to look at opportunities. Getting those opportunities, you need the right skills, and probably we have the right education. We just need exposure for that matter. If you're able to have a right exposure, have right education, have right, everything right, we'll be able to get more opportunities. But to legislate about most of the things that are legislating at this moment in time, they add no value. You're telling somebody today that we're going to, have 35% go to the counties, yet we are not able to take 15%. Are we foolish to believe that? Why do we need to legislate that? Why can't we grow the economy first? Allow us to have money, allow us to have a tax projection of 3 trillion shillings, then be able to go backwards, right? Why can't we say, for example, why can't we legislate that every county in this county for that matter, needs to have 2 factories? That is progressive legislation for that matter, if that is, they want to legislate everything. But the kind of legislation I'm seeing, actually the entire discourse around the BBI, if I get you right, is basically about personalities who don't have no interest whatsoever with the interest of the people. And that's why, as a party, we hold the opinion that we need to have continuous discourse on the pertinent issues or the germane issues that within the BBI discourse that really affects the young people. Create jobs. And how do you create jobs? You don't create jobs by giving tax holidays. Create jobs by having good
an enabling
environment for that matter. That is our foundation. Yes.
Oh, and that's the obsession with politicians, is that they always imagine that every time we have a problem, we need to change the constitution. And the question is, the basis of every country is its constitution. And America has the oldest constitution. I think I could be wrong. And you can almost count the number of times it has been changed. And the constitution belongs to the people. In the preamble of our constitution, it says we, the people. It gives power to the people. When the thing that you're seeing, the activities that are going on in the country, is that the county assemblies have now been discussing the bill 2020, and there has been some level of things, illegalities in the way the county assembly are being coerced to approve the document. And you find that people are approving and rejecting without the input of the public. And I believe that the core of every constitutional change is the people. Public participation. Where does it put you as a young person who wants to participate in the affairs of its nation, the shaping of a destiny? And you've mentioned it quite rightfully that this nation is driven mostly by the old population who are actually transiting, who are leaving us. And we've not given the young people who actually own the country, who have more time in the country, to be part of the conversation in where it should be taken. As the county governments break their legs to reject or to approve the BBI report, where does it put you at? As a citizen who wants your voice to be felt, and as a young leader as well who wants to be part of the shaping of the nation?
I think my biggest worry is that we are not really in a position to have a conversation. Even at the county level, how can a bill be passed in 30 minutes? Then you wake up, walk around, say you are a leader. Such kind of people should be genuinely be ashamed, because they have really mortgaged our citizenship, our right to public participation. Two, as county leaders at the county level, what mechanisms have they put in place to interrogate the benefits of the bill to their people? Because they just represent, they're custodians of the will of the people. I think we've failed. The counties have failed us because they have not been able to objectively interrogate those bills in relation, the constitutional amendment bill in relation to the needs of their county members. If we be able to interrogate that in that perspective, ask, for example, how will the resources be distributed to this county in terms of that 5%? Interrogate the basis of that 35%. How much will come to your county? If you ask majority of the members of the assembly, they have no clue. If you ask them what is the basis of you passing this bill or rejecting it, they will tell you our political godfathers have said so. So I think we have to wake up from that slumber, because we need a leadership. And that's general what I said, NRA shall engage in training of leaders on their roles, because I believe probably that is where we go wrong. Secondly, let these personalities, the personality cults that we have built, the fiefdoms, somebody wakes up because he controls a particular county assembly, he even makes them not reason on their own, and they have been forced to mortgage their thinking. That to solve that problem, we need to remove personalities from politics and be able to say that, by the way, I support you as my leader, but I need to make my decision because I represent the people. Not making a decision on the basis and the foundation of the wills of the political agenda of your leader. So you reject because you support a particular leader, you pass it in 30 minutes because you support a particular leader, and the state coercion also does not make sense. Why can't you allow people to reason? The speed on the urgency of this bill, what is so urgent? And as a country, we should also ask ourselves, is it that the timing, is it right? Probably, that is, are we spending the IBC has been allocated about 14.5 billion shillings. Assuming you pump 14.5 billion shillings in the industries that I'm talking about today, how many jobs can it create?
A lot.
So as we think through and appreciate the need, probably the political need of a referendum and the amendment, but let us ask ourselves, with the COVID, the ravaging COVID that has had to our economy, with the issues that really affect us, is it the right time? Can't we do it probably with the election? That is probably some of the things we should think about. Is 14 billion shillings and the time wastage. Remember, anytime you go to an election, the economy, the stock exchange stops working. Everything goes at standstill. What we really need to think about is timing, one, and the end result, the end game for these political leaders. And assuming we needed just to, reading the entire constitutional amendment bill, you'll really speak out that probably the main issue is the executive. And if that is the main issue, why can't we be patient and just do it at election time? These other issues are just by the way. If you ask about the constituencies, are all given from a political prism. I was sharing with somebody, I was telling him a constituency called Kandui. Kandui constituency has a voter population, or a number of voters at about 140,000 members, voters. Why can't it have another constituency? For example, if you're talking about, if it's the constituency, it's about the people. Yes. Why is it that these constituencies that you're talking about are concentrated in a particular region? Is because they are meant to hoodwink leaders and individuals from this region to be able to support. So the logic of the amendment, the logic of, as much as it It has a good foundation to bring peace, and stability and cohesion in the country. I think some of the things that have been put there are basically to hoodwink. If you ask the young people, the things the youth commission that has come up, the youth commission in terms of the proposed youth commission, I think you ask me today how those commissioners will be appointed, you'll be shocked. You will be shocked. I'm sure you will see the same faces,
same old faces.
Yes. And then
it will be another reward scheme.
Another reward scheme for politicians. And those political players actually they're just scheming on how to get those things they're talking about. So don't think about positions. Today, a Kikuyu youth who is probably hustling in his village, selling milk, is still probably suffering the same way I am suffering in terms of probably trying to make my ends meet. Yet, his president has been in power for all these years, right? So they have been in power for 36 years. That does not mean that, we should be very happy about power, but we should be in a position to really interrogate what power is to us. If we are able to interrogate that, then we'll be able to really make right decisions or the right moves at the right time. Because don't think when you have a prime minister, for example, or a president from your community, it does not translate into an economic empowerment scheme. What really translates to an economic empowerment scheme are, a growth of the economy. When the economy grows and you get your job, you don't even need to bribe anybody. You just do your business, make your own money, and grow. But if you look that you must have a prime minister from your community, and that's what the BBI is all about. Unfortunately, the planners of this scheme of the BBI have not been able to create a very distinct boundary between the president and the prime minister in terms of the legal framework, legal infrastructure of how they'll come into office. Assuming the president is from a particular community and the leader of the party with the majority is from the same community, what happens? And that is the kind of discussion we ought to. We are running away from, you are creating a problem by, creating another.
Fix the problem by creating another.
Yeah, so I think we need to really ask ourselves tough questions. And give it, for example, if you have President Muhisa as the president, for example, and you have Wetangula as the leader of majority. What happens to the other communities? That is the conversation, conversation we should really anchor ourselves on. And when you talk about that, stop thinking about the tribes, because tribes never help anybody. In fact, they impoverish you. I had Raymond talking about Baringo in anger,
yes,
and saying that Baringo
are very poor.
They are very poor.
And they're rejecting me.
And they're rejecting BBI. My question was, who is Raymond? Raymond is the son of Moi. And Moi was a leader and has been a leader of both the Tugen and Baringo County for so long. Why couldn't he mainstream?
The same family have actually ruled for 50 years.
Why can't they mainstream the issues of poverty at that county level? You get? They come to remind you that you are poor, so that you feel so intimidated about life and see that there are no other options. Yet they have been in power. As a party, we think probably create jobs, expand the economy, do whatever is important. And General, you can never grow an economy with the strict observation of globalization in its sense. How best you can grow an economy is to create some sense of protectionism. Protectionism in the sense that if you look at the studio where we are in, how many things in this studio are made from Kenya?
Maybe me.
So, as a country, we're importing toothpicks. From China. We're importing, even milk. We're importing from Uganda. We're importing the basic of the basics, grapes from South Africa. How do you expect to grow an economy that imports everything and exports very little? And to grow an economy, Gerald, you need what we call the spirit of national building. To grow an economy, you need a foundation that is founded on national building. And to create industries that can create jobs and grow an economy, they need serious state funding for that matter. Not just foreign direct investment, but serious state funding. I'll give an example why I think probably our country is not serious about growth of the economy. We had ICDC, and we have the Kenya Industrial Estate. If you ask me today, the ICDC has been put together with with the Kenya Railway, KPC, Kenya Pipeline Corporation, and the Kenya Ports Authority. Why do you need to put all these things together? Why can't you allow them to operate separately so that ICDC can focus on its mandate of funding industrialization or of financing industrialization in this country? Now you want to give it the role of KPA, give it the role of the supervisory role to ICDC. Why is it that Kenya Industrial Estates often has no funding? Because we are not interested in growing the industry for that matter. Why is it that we have to import sugar from Brazil and bring it to Kenya, and at the same time make it slightly cheaper than even the sugar produced locally? Why is it that all our factories have closed down, the sugar factories for that matter? The Western region, in terms of the economic programming and in terms of economic planning, there is nothing you can do there because majority of those factories are no longer operational. What can we do differently? Can't we come up with policies that protect our local industries for that matter? These cartels that really control, be it maize, be it wheat, be it whatever, can't we come up with right policies and right political goodwill to be able to tackle those issues? And I think if you're able to tackle create a level of protectionism more so in our industries in terms of what we produce as a country, then you'll be shocked. The nation will grow, and that is what's happening in Tanzania. You might be shocked. Tanzania is doing better than us in terms of industrialization. Their mining sector is enormous, has grown. For example, the gold smelting. The government of Tanzania has come up with a gold smelting plant. If you go to Dar es Salaam, many industries are coming up. Reason being, their foundation is one, that 30% of their national budget shall go to industrialization, and they're funding that kind of aspect. I'll give you another just a simplistic analysis of what SADC countries are doing in South Africa, southern part of Africa. The SADC countries agreed as a matter of principle that 15% is called 15% of their budget shall go to agriculture. Today, you get 15%, assuming you give a county like Kakamega, let's say, give it 10 billion shillings. How much of that money is allocated to agriculture, it being an agricultural county? Because counties have turned out to be, the agriculture is the devolved function, but counties have turned out to be not really focused on their agenda as counties, more so on the seventh schedule, but just interested in employing people, just making money, making deals here and there. That is not what really ought to be done. If we want to really transform this country, then we have to really focus our minds, souls, and everything towards one thing. What is the allocation to agriculture? What is the allocation that really go to the smallholder farmer in the agricultural sector, more so at the county level, since agriculture is partially devolved? What is the involvement of the fishing industry? What is the place of the cashew nut industry at the coast region? What is the place of agribusiness? You get, in terms of the dairy farming, in terms of beef farming. How comes Kapedo has remained a place of cattle rustling? Then it means cattle are doing well there, right? Yeah. If they're doing well there, why can't we have a Kapedo beef factory for that matter, sure, so that farmers can be able to bring and sell their cows to their Kapedo beef, maybe beef creameries, beef corporation, and all that. If they're able to come and do that, then are we not able to export this kind of product, a finished product from Kapedo, all the way to Dubai, sell it there? Let the people at Kapedo make money. You'll never see cattle rustling anymore. Yeah. That is the kind of thinking we want to bring in a political discourse, that we can bring solutions if only you mean well. We can bring solutions if you grow an economy. We can bring solutions if we have the right budgeting and right thinking in terms of leadership. We can bring solutions if the people and the people in leadership understand their roles and understand that this is the kind of person we need to elect as a leader. Mm-hmm. If we have all those things put together, then we'll be able to have the right leadership. On the issues of the issue of unemployment, I was reading about Chama cha Mapinduzi in Tanzania, and their role in terms of the ideas in the political space and how they come up with their leaders. And by the end of next year, you will be sure who will be the next president of Tanzania from Chama cha Mapinduzi, because they look at people's ideas at the party level, then be able to bring them to the fore, right? So I was analyzing just to probably explain that, what are they doing different? What they're doing different is from the grassroots level, their politics are founded on ideals. That is one. Two, we have a very big military in terms of spending. I've been asking myself how many armory vehicles, the armory vehicles that are used by our military, are made by the military. You get? And the answer I got was that it's zero. We all pride ourselves in importing everything from China, importing everything from UK, importing everything from other countries. Yet in Tanzania and Uganda, for example, which are our neighbors, they are making their own armory vehicles. So I think we ought to think differently. If you look in Uganda, the UPDF, for example, is making, and I've done, I think a week ago, did a test of the Kira Motors. The Kira Motors is a brainchild of the former freedom fighters at the Luero Triangle. What we're asking is that probably some of these government institutions that really spend a big chunk of our national budget, they ought also to engage in things that can create income, create jobs. We need to see a great number of people joining the military, not to fight, but to join the military to add value in terms of the ideas, whatever they have learned in school, to make vehicles, to make basic things, to engage in national building, to engage in states. We have the numerical state corporation, which is basically to make bolts and nuts. Why can't we make it better? They can engage in very meaningful things, because these institutions have government funding. My major concern is our military. Military as it is, it ought to be actively engaged, because it's a big spender. If it can come up at least with a bus, what we had a Nyayo bus in the past, let the military also come up with something different they can pride itself in. Let the police come up with something that can pride itself in. I know these are comparative studies. If you go to the US, majority of the innovations are done by the US Navy. You get the SEALs. They try to come up with new things. But if we're able to just do that, then you can be sure a good number of people will join the military, because they'll add value, create employment, create business, create revenue for this country. And if we think in that dimension, we'll be on the right track, Gerard.
All right. And where do you draw the line between the interest of politics? Because in Kenya, it looks like what usually takes what takes eminence is the issues of the politicians, the problems of politicians, the issues of the politicians. Every time the political class have a challenge or have a problem within themselves, they think it's a problem of the people. Like even me and you have a problem at the top, at the political level, at the top tier political level. We tend to believe that now the whole country should inherit our problems. Where do you draw the line between the problems of politicians and the problems of the people?
I think the agenda. If you're able to differentiate the agenda of politicians and the agenda of the people, or the wishes of politicians and the wishes of the people, you see somebody has been arrested because of corruption, an outright case of corruption, but somebody is still able to convince his people that this is being targeted. We must think differently. We must act differently, and be able to separate politicians and their interest and the people's interest. If a politician has an issue, for example, a political issue, then let's allow him to sort out his political issue through the right procedures or the right legal channels. But anytime there's a congruence between politics and the issues that affect the people, then the discourse, or whether social or political discourse in that particular arena, is always convoluted. And to avoid the convolution, we must follow politicians as a people on the basis of what they hold in terms of ideas, on the basis of what they carry in terms of their vision for the people. Don't follow politicians because he's from your community. If he's from your community but does not carry your agenda as a people, does not carry your interests as a people, then you are doing already badly. And that is our biggest worry. Let us forget about individuals, but focus so much about their agenda, their interests, their vision as for the people whom they represent. When you are able to separate their vision and their vision for the people, or their agenda and their agenda for the people, then you'll be at, on a safe ground. Because anytime you have a mixture of the two, then, he does not really carry your vision, but he's carrying his own personal, vendetta, for example, or agenda, then we are losing it. As a people should think that political leaders are basically custodians, privileged custodians of our vision. If someone does not really carry your vision, then you should not be part of that bandwagon, Gerald.
Okay. All right. So I think we need to have a bigger conversation on where we want to take this country. And there's something that really is of concern. The other day we saw the ERPA has reviewed the prices of fuel. And if you live in this country, you realize that the price of fuel affect every other thing. I mean,
cost of production.
Any slight increase or drop in because when people talk about fuel, they look at petrol, they look at diesel.
Yes.
But it's energy. It's what drives a nation. It's a resource. It's about industry. It's about manufacturing. It's about everything. And every time we talk about manufacturing as a pillar, we keep telling our people, our young people, go guys, go down manufacture, end fanyi. But the cost of operation, if a slight increase in the fuel, for instance, will affect power, electricity bill. Yes. So it means
the cost of production
goes up as well. Yes. Even your consumption, your power consumption even at home, at the factory at home goes up. The price of bread goes up because they have to factor in the increase. The price of milk goes up because they need to factor in the processing part of it. I mean, are we really ever honest with ourselves when we talk about building our nation? Because at the backdrop of all this conversation about industrializing and building manufacturing, the young people innovating and building industries, is a system that is so determined to curtail the same process.
I think I'll start it from a different perspective. I'll look at it from a different perspective before I come to maybe the fuel and all that. To industrialize Kenya, you need high power voltage. What Ketraco does, the high power voltage in the various areas. Before you do that, that's why then in the entire Western, there is no meaningful factory that can do any serious job in Western province. Same to Nyanza, because their connectivity to high voltage substations is 10%. There are no substations in Western that really have high power voltage. That is one thing. Then, REA came up with a great project in Garissa. It was a 10 billion project in terms of power generation. But the distribution of the same power is what really ails us. If you can be able to have all this power distributed across the country with key targets to areas where you can do industrialization, with key targets, for example, I'll give an example to Eldoret, not to Eldoret, to Kitale, to be able to have a processing mill full of processing factories, to Kimilili, to those areas around that corridor that produce a lot of agri products, then we'll be able to really be able to bring in the issues of manufacturing. But unless we sort out the issues of power, then the manufacturing dream will remain a pipe dream. That is one. Two, the cost of fuel. And the fuel sector in this country has, as the international market for the barrel of fuel goes down or remains constant, every 15th day of the year, of the month, the prices go up. So sometimes we wonder what really motivates their calculation. Is it standardized by the international market because the barrel of fuel has not gone up in Saudi Arabia, in Dubai, in most of the countries where we import, in Iran, where we get our fuel from? What really motivates this calculation? Probably in terms of our thinking, in terms of just public engagement, they should also be able to tell us that we are increasing this fuel from this cost to this cost because of these and these factors. And that one of those factors should be that the costs of a barrel in Iran or in Saudi Arabia has increased by this much. And the cost of transport of the same fuel from Saudi Arabia to Kenya has increased by this much. Then this will really inform the thinking. But what happens now is that we are beholden by a number of cartels who are just ready to make money. So long as their fuel is at the port, they will just hold it for a month. By the 15th day, they will come and change their prices. I believe so. I have reasons to believe so. And when they change the prices, they make their profit. So we need a control measure that ERP, Energy Regulation Authority, should be able to act independently of the whims of the businessmen, and be able to liberalize the fuel sector. If you're able to liberalize the fuel sector specifically, the same way the energy sector is going to be liberalized, with the KenGen also producing power, which produces power, also allowed to sell the power. I think if we're able to liberalize it in a way, but also with a tinge of regulation in terms of how to sell it and all that, we'll be able to really don't liberalize the fuel sector, but issue guidelines on what they ought to be done. Let the fuel prices not be determined by EPRA, but let the market forces dictate on the fuel prices. So when you do that, you'll have a lot of players in the market who will be able to sell fuel, but regulate the quality of that fuel, regulate the standardize everything. If you do that, you'll discover that some of these cartels that really run this sector will be out of the market totally. So that's how I'm looking at it. Can we be able to...
I think it's quite interesting, because there's something you mentioned is, I think the cartel actually is the government, because they're the ones who regulate the prices. I think the cartel is the government. Why can't the government liberalize the market and only focus on quality checking?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why? What is
so that it's a free? Well, why do they want to hold on the fuel business?
Actually, as a government, they already have their players in the sector. National Oil is a government. National Oil Corporation of Kenya, which also sells fuel directly to the people, is a government.
It's a government
corporation,
yes.
Right? Why can't government focus so much on that, so that they can make money if they want to make money from the fuel business? But the issues of regulation, regulate the standards, regulate the quality, but don't regulate the prices. Allow the market forces to really play around with it. Secondly, the license to import fuel. Yeah. That is where we go wrong as a people. Because licenses in this country, get licenses in this country. You remember even the former FPR MD, Director General Oimeke, was arrested. Just there's
for bribery.
For bribery, there's a scheme. There's a scheme to really control that sector, and that sector and the sugar sector. Unless we liberalize them, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have a problem.
I think the fuel is a fundraising strategy for government. Every time it feels it's a bit broke, it has 2 shillings or has 3 shillings, depending on how much they need. Yes. Now they need to pay the MCS, they need to buy the Kisses MCS pads. They'll be given tablets and 500 Kenyan shillings.
And 500,000 shillings.
Yeah, so maybe now they'll add another 1 shilling or 2 shillings.
Within 3 weeks, they'll have the money.
Anyway, finally, what do you think is, do you think we have achieved liberty in politics? Because yesterday I saw something happened in Kisii. Deputy Governor George Mahangi was arrested. Even Silvana Zosoro, Saud Mugirango MP, was arrested yesterday and held in detention. We've also seen a lot of almost people, what people have interpreted as politically motivated arrests that have been happening. Do you think, even as we pride in having freedom and democracy, we seem to enjoy, do you feel we've actually gotten to a point where you can actually confidently say we've achieved political liberty?
I think we are still a fragile democracy. The fragility of our democracy and the embryonic stages we are at, we are only 58 years old as a democracy. The Americans are probably 200 years or so as a democracy. The fragility of our democracy, I think in a way we have not achieved the independence that will really pride in as a democracy. We are still growing, Gerald, and probably the growth ought to be structured in a way. But the arrests, yesterday you could ask yourself, what has a deputy governor, man of honor, for example, amongst the populace, also at the Kisii level, why arrest him at that moment in time? Is it because he was attending the funeral? And if you arrest him, why don't you charge him for that matter? And if you charge him, why don't you charge him with the serious charges?
He was actually released the last night without charges.
Without charges, and something that's actually every Kenyan-loving citizen should frown upon that. Silvanus Osoro was arrested also just to be put in the police custody until the funeral was over. That was their leader. The person who died was their leader. I'm sure Silvanus Osoro grew up also looking up to him. Why can't you allow such people to come? I think the use of state machinery and state forces, for that matter, to really, create a level playing field in our democratic space is uncalled for. Probably what you need to create an enabling environment, create politicians to know their roles as such. We should not allow a situation whereby government forces are used negatively. And what I can tell you also, government sometimes forgets very quickly that whatever they are doing really, really pontificates the victims of those kind of things. I saw if you can remember, in 2016, 2017, when there was a lot of spat between Joho and the government, also the president, that really militarizes these people and makes them very popular to the masses, because our people are now able to analyze things, are able to see. So the government should also be very careful on what they are doing as a system.
Because they create monsters.
In the long run, they create monsters who are able to fight, who are able to, they have nothing else to lose. If, for example, you are continuously arrested. I was seeing Johanna Ngeno making fun of his continuous incarcerations. That should really worry us as a nation, that anytime you use the state apparatus to really achieve political gain, then we are at loss as a people, because political gain cannot be achieved through arrests and all that. Intimidation and coercions through the political space is a misnomer, because we are stepping, you're having a number of steps backwards instead of having a good number of steps forward. So to really sustain and grow our democracy, allow people the freedom of expression if they have to. Just let there be decorum in terms of our engagement. Let there be divergence of opinion. And divergence of opinion does not necessarily mean that we disagree democratically, but no, we just hold different opinions. If we're able to structure and be able to really have that, not legislated, but as a political norm, that's something we really take and pride in, then we shall avoid this state anarchy that we are seeing that is now creeping up. And state anarchy, in most cases, creates a majoritarian anarchy. When you have people who will now feel there's nothing else to lose, then you create an anarchy that will not be able to solve our problems.
All right. Yeah. What's your tackle of the day? Tunafunga kazi.
My tackle of the day is that probably let Kenyans make right decisions. We are fairly a literate population. We are fairly a democratic state. Let Kenyans interrogate every party that will come into the political space and make right decisions. As NRA, we are going to offer solutions that really anchor on economic emancipation. That is one. Solutions that anchor on poverty eradication. Solutions that anchor on reduction of unemployment. Solutions that anchor on exposure. Solutions that anchor on the place of youth leadership. Solutions that anchor on the place, and generally mainstream the place of women leadership. Solutions that anchor on the place of the persons with disability in terms of our governance. That is what really motivates us. I want to really encourage Kenyans to really interrogate our leaders, respect them, but don't fear engaging them. Let us engage on the basis of ideas. Let us engage on the basis of reason, because this country belongs to all of us. We want to believe that we can create plenty within our borders, and this plenty shall be enjoyed by all of us. That is my tackle.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. I hope to see you again. Karibu tena to the tackle. And I wish you all the best at NRA.
NRA will be there.
Decided to say NRA just before, because so I don't say restoration again. Reconstruction, National Reconstruction Alliance.
It can also be National Resistance.
All right, good to see you. I hope to see you again. Wish you all the very best, and I hope you guys are going to stick it with your guns, that we see a better nation. Abbas Njuguna government sometimes embarrasses itself. All right. Fuel prices in Kenya is determined by politics and COVID-19 waves. During lockdown, diesel and petrol was reviewed downwards simply because a lot of vehicles were not in operations, while kerosene what was highly increased. I mean, quite interesting. Milton Oguti, morning, Toko. Good morning to you, Franklin Kirimi, watching from Pangani. Thank you, Abbas Juguna. Why don't you see the man as being targeted based on how the arresting authorities behave, e.g. timing political alignments, etc. Henry Ford Kissinger is saying he's watching from Vihiga County. Antonio Waweru, watching from Bamburi, Mombasa. Patrick Chirier, good morning, watching the show from Kericho County. Cyrus Koech, good morning, Kenya. Tony Arwasi, Riziki ni wetu. Haya, Jenny Kimsi, Mombasa tuko ndani. Asante sana to Mombasa. Don't mid morning. Ilari Arap Mayo, live from Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you. Kasimbadu this time. Morning. Good morning. Robert Kibet, Elgio Marakwetune. Thank you so much. Charles Patrick saying watching from Nairobi. Opondo Wafula Riziki, I'm watching you, and this was a fantastic brother. Thank you. All right, good to see you guys. Thank you so much for always tuning in. It's always a pleasure to have you. This is the Tackle, and the Tackle ends now. Bye bye, and see you again tomorrow. Take care. Cheers.